The Pittsburgh Pirates are now out of the All-Star break, and the Philadelphia Phillies are coming to town for Yinzer-Palooza. We're going to preview that and talk more trade deadline on today's episode of Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast, everybody here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates every day, and even sometimes twice a day. Because guess what, folks? This is the 7th episode of Locked On Pirates that is coming your way this week. Thank you to all of the guests that we've had this week on what is usually what I call the slowest sports week of the year. And it has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
we've talked trade deadline. We've talked everything, Connor. We've talked everything.
It's been rough,
brother.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been. But guess what?
Baseball's
back.
Well, I could tell around midweek based on the discourse on social media that people were getting restless, right? People just started fighting with each other. It got a little rough there.
Yeah.
We need Pirates baseball.
What else do you do? Well, they're going to fight with each other anyway, because this is Pirates baseball, and this is the Locked On Pirates podcast brought to you by Booking.com today, Booking.com, Booking.yeah. If you want to take a page out of Connor's book, who he just was in Boston last week in Fenway, I'm sure he probably had a very nice place to stay down there. Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
I went up to see some family that I hadn't seen in 16 years. We stayed in the financial district downtown. We stayed at the Bostonian. The last time I was there, I think it was after they took out the expressway that went through the financial district. But it was kind of before they really did anything with that space. So being in Boston, where the expressway used to be, there's just there's parks and stuff. It's really nice. I love Boston. The Freedom Trail was I think that was my first time doing the Freedom Trail in Boston. It was surprisingly not super touristy. I was expecting it to be more touristy. Paul Revere's house, the USS Constitution. Man, sailors in the 1700s had to be small. It helped that they had conscripted children on the ship, but
well, there you go. Yeah,
because you go down below deck and you have to duck your head. And Fenway's super cool. It's one of those places where obviously it's 112 years old.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have great concessions. You're not gonna have ample room. You're packed in sardines. But once you get to your seat and you sit down, you get it.
Nice.
You get it.
Good deal. I'm hoping I make it out there eventually. It's definitely one of the bucket list parks that I want to be on. PNC Park, obviously, a big bucket list park that we want to be on as well, even though me and you have been there plenty of times, I'm sure. And a lot of people will be there this weekend. A lot of stuff going on in Pittsburgh this weekend. You got a pickle.
It's a sellout, right?
I believe so. I think they said that
is tomorrow the sellout? Tonight's a sellout also.
I think both of them are, and then they said I think it was $25K plus for Sunday, which I'll be there Sunday, so that'll be fun. You got the pickles going on down there. You got the Yinzer-Palooza going on down there. Pirates also. I want one of the sauerkraut Saul plushies. I don't care if I'm not 14 or under or not. Stop making all the cool giveaways for the kids, especially Bucko Luau weekend. That beach towel was awesome, and you made it for only kids. So stop doing that, please. Anyways, back to actual baseball. Before we even really get into the nitty-gritty of this series, this is fun. Pirates obviously split with the Philadelphia Phillies earlier this year. Kutch hit 300 in Philly, so very nice moment for him. Phillies, arguably, if not the best team in baseball. I know they have the best record. There could be arguments made about who the best team in baseball is. I think it's the Phillies between the pitching and everything else. What's interesting, though, is I saw a lot of people upset with the Pirates because of who they are throwing in this series, Connor. You have Martin Perez tonight, Luis Ortiz on Saturday, Marco Gonzalez on Sunday. Clearly, no Mitch Keller, no Paul Skeens, Bailey Falter, and Jared Jones still on the shelf right now. What are your immediate thoughts when you heard about that? Because I've heard different sides of this, so I want to see what side you're on in terms of, Keller and Skeens not going in the series and kind of pretty much confirming they'll go in the St. Louis series.
I don't have any issue at all with Skeens not going in this Philly series. That makes perfect sense. Like, you need that guy for the rest of the year, and you're going to have to find a way to avoid a Strasburg situation where you end up in like August and it's like, whoops, we're all out of innings.
Yeah.
You're going to need to find a way to, stretch that out a little bit, and pushing him back to, presumably Monday or Tuesday helps you do that. And that's the bottom line. With Keller, it's a little different for me because I honestly wonder if there is something up with him, because I don't understand why you would pull him after 3 innings in Chicago if he's not going to like start at all in the Phillies series. Especially like over Martin Perez.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I think I like where you're thinking there, because it is a different Skeens. I understand. I agree with you 100% there. Keller's the one. I honestly thought Keller was going to start tonight. Personally,
Yeah,
I really
that's what I like when they pulled Keller after 3 and it looked planned, because Priester coming in like indicated to me that was planned. Because why else would he be ready to go after 3 innings?
Yeah,
my immediate assumption was that he was going to start Friday against a really good Phillies team. And that obviously hasn't happened. So I wonder, he might not be physically hurt, but I wonder if he was like feeling a little something. If he was if he was under the weather and they're just giving him more recovery days, because we just don't know. But I don't understand why you would do that if not to start him Friday.
And I think if something was seriously wrong, Connor, we would know.
Yeah,
that's
what I think too.
And something I told you before we started recording today as well was I saw a lot of Pirates fans upset with how their pitching shaped out for this series. Philly fans probably aren't all that happy either. I mean, you have Aaron Nola going tonight. That's great for them. He's easily the best pitcher going in this series. But no Ranger Suarez in this series. No Christopher Sanchez might be going. But Zach Wheeler's hurt right now, so they can't have him pitch. So
is Christopher Sanchez not definitively going? I thought he was on their probables.
On MLB.com, they say to be determined. But I can look again here because I had it from somebody. Yeah, Sanchez is going on Saturday, and then it is Tyler Phillips on Sunday. So, yeah, the Phillies are throwing Sanchez and Nola.
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea who Tyler Phillips is.
That's where I will leave it up to Michael from 412 Double Play on Steel City Pirates to give me the pitching breakdown that he does. But what I find interesting coming out of this is, usually when you come out of the All-Star break, you're thinking health, right? And that's what I think is finally like working out here, is the Pirates with Skeens especially are taking advantage of a free opportunity to leave him out of pitching action for over a week, well over a week. I know he pitched on Tuesday, but 16 pitches, 11 pitches, or 11
Yeah,
strikes,
that's yard work, right?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't doing anything that was going to be worrisome there at all. And if it was my decision, the moment was cool. He would have never even stepped foot on that mound in Texas. Be honest with you. He never would have. But I think this series still is going to be decided by the pitching, and we're going to get into that in just a moment here on the Locked On Pirates podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. And yeah, we're even talking about your rival cities like St. Louis and Chicago. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season because, I mean, it's the only sport going on right now, folks, so you might as well. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Yeah, we're even talking about Cincinnati. Book today on Booking.com, on the website, or in the Booking.com app. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100 because you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That means if you think Brian Reynolds is going to come out of the break and hit a home run, put it on your board. You think that Martin Perez could get 3.5 or 4 strikeouts more than that, put it on your board. Do it. You think Bryce Harper can use that power lefty swing to hit one out at PNC Park? Knock on wood, but I have a feeling he's going to probably do it. Put it on your board at Prize Picks because Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And even outside of baseball, the phenom in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, you could bet for more than 3.5 3-pointers made in the Saturday WNBA All-Star game. And if you ask me, that's free money because I think she's going to torch Team USA on Saturday. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100 and pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks.
That was a good ad read.
Thank you, Connor. That was a very good ad read, right? I like those ad reads. I love my ads. I love Booking.com. I love Prize Picks. I'll probably be using Booking.com later this year. I'm in a wedding in Savannah in October, so I'll probably be doing that. And I used to use Prize Picks when I was in Georgia, and I've actually made quite a few bucks off of it. And when you look at this Phillies and Pirates series, by the way, folks, check out Locked On Sports Today. Beautiful stuff over there. Also, check out the Sirius XM app if you're on the go for Yinzer-Palooza weekend. I don't know, maybe you're eating pickles downtown and can't go to the game. Just pop your earbuds in and look up Pirates on Sirius XM and find the games every single day. Pirates 48-48, Connor. Phillies 62-34. We're talking this series. What would be your one key to victory here for the Pirates to get out of the gate hot and really start things off amidst what's going to be a gauntlet of games until the end of July and even into August?
So we kind of know what Martin Perez is at this point. We know he's capable of pitching well.
Yeah.
We know sometimes it just doesn't happen. Sometimes guys just get to him. If his location is off, if he's getting it over the heart of the plate, he gets hit. The big wild card for me this series is Luis Ortiz.
Yep.
He's been great. He's been really, really good. And there have been moments this year where he's shown stuff that I was afraid was never coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Because really as a prospect, he kind of wasn't expected to really be anything. And then all of a sudden he's like, whoa, I can throw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then last year that kind of disappeared and his fastball got hit really hard. And it was like, okay, maybe this was a flash in the pan, this and that. But this year, man, it's not quite the velocity we saw in his rookie year. But, I mean, he's getting it up there. The average velo still is around in line with where it was last year, but he's topping out higher.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree.
And I think that's huge for him.
Yeah, and it's definitely the swing game, right? Those Saturday games, trust me, because most of the games I've went to have been Saturday games, have kind of defined the series for the Pirates a lot, especially at home and even on the road. Those Saturday games in these 3-game series have really been kind of where the Pirates either win or lose the series, because Sunday is always kind of a weird day because sometimes we get those stupid Sunday lineups and sometimes, the pitching all of a sudden doesn't show up. But you enter this series, Connor, with the longest active streak in MLB in winning streak right now. They have the longest winning streak in Major League Baseball.
Really?
4 games. Well, thanks to the Philadelphia Phillies losing to the Oakland Athletics before the break. So where I think this all comes down to is it's such a hard thing when the Pirates are facing a team like Philly because they can pitch you everywhere. I mean, their bullpen is great. Strom, Alvarado. The offense is great. You have Harper, Schwarber, Real Muto, Turner. You can go all the way down the line and find everything. But the Pirates haven't shied down from competition like that this year. They beat the Atlanta Braves in a series earlier this year. They split with this Phillies team earlier this year. Beat the Dodgers in a series earlier this year. You look at that and you say, even with the pitchers that the Pirates have going this weekend, Perez, Ortiz, and Gonzalez, I still feel somewhat confident that they can compete in this series and maybe even win it, depending on what offense we get coming out of the break as well. And I think starting at home is going to help them a lot.
I would agree with that. It's just like the question mark is like, is Marco Gonzalez is what we've seen so far real? Can Martin Perez pitch effectively? Because the biggest thing for him is he's just gonna have to game 1 of a series, he needs to go 5.
Yeah.
And part of why I'm so interested in Luis Ortiz is we've seen him pitch effectively, but I think this is his toughest test yet. The Phillies lineup has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players at 120 OPS plus or better.
Wow. Wait, don't tell me these things, Connor. I'm trying to be confident here going into this series. Man,
can you carry the show for a moment? I need to.
Yeah.
I need to.
You're all good. Yeah, go for it. And with this series too, folks, what I find interesting as well, with this series in particular is, as we talked about with Mike Nicastro in our other show, that this gauntlet that the Pirates are running after. I mean, you have, of course, the Phillies, then you have the Cardinals, then you also have Arizona and Houston. So getting off to a really good start matters a lot. Now, I know that goes back to what we were talking about with the pitching, is that you would like to have Keller and Skeens go in the series, but also trust your guys that you have.
I'm sitting on my bed, by the way. We had
you gotta be
huge technical issues before this show, so I'm not.
You got to be comfortable,
with
man.
The laptop.
Yeah, you got to be comfortable, man, on it. But I was just discussing, though, that a point that I've tried to make on this show over the last month is this is the team that we have right now. We're obviously going to get into the trade deadline a little bit in the final part of the show, but this is the team the Pirates have right now. This is what has been built. This is where they are. And if you really want the Pirates to buy, you're going to have to trust the guys that are here right now to get them in a position to do that. And that's starting with this Philadelphia Phillies series. You have to beat teams like this if you're going to even think about being in a position to talk about the wild card or talk about being a super buying team. And I still think that they'll buy regardless, because there's just not enough time for them to really completely fall off the page unless they were to lose 9 in a row, which
if they were to lose 6 straight.
Yeah, that would change things. But
I
don't think this team
end the season.
Yeah, but I don't think this team is even capable of that. I think the pitching is too good for this team to do that kind of thing. Now, the offense, on the other hand, could fall off the face of the earth again, and you would be worried. But with this Philly series, to put a bow on it,
isn't it a continuous fall off the face of the earth? They fell off the face of the earth. It's past tense.
Yes. So there's a cliff, and then there's another cliff, and another cliff, and it just keeps going down.
It's like the ocean floor, right? There's
it just keeps going. You love it. And hopefully that ocean floor will start to stay a little more flat because, again, depending on how this series goes, might be feeling really good, might not be feeling really good. But as I just mentioned, Pirates are still going to be busy at the trade deadline over the next couple weeks. So we're going to discuss Connor's thoughts on the trade deadline, why the Pirates should add, and so much more on the final part of today's episode of Locked On Pirates. Today's episode is brought to you by Supply House. They have all of your HVAC, plumbing, and electrical products online available to you because their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. You can shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands. It's a lot of numbers. And get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. That's a lot of distance. Need help with an order? You can get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. It's a lot of people. Every trade master in the skilled trades gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks, just like you did on this show at supplyhouse.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. Love them so much that I don't want them to stop. But we just had the slowest sports week on the calendar. But FanDuel's always going to let me keep the sports going whenever I please because all I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. Much like we mentioned earlier, Martin Perez strikeouts. Same game parlay it. You think the Pirates can beat Aaron Nola tonight? I'm sure they're going to be underdogs. Go do it. Go bet on it. Go make some money. You might spray. You don't even have to drop a little cash. Just do a little sprinkle, right? Don't do anything that's going to screw you up. Just, like sprinkle some cash there and you might walk away happy because FanDuel is even being gracious enough to hook up all their customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com to go bet on the Pirates right now and start making the most of your summer because FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and an official sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. Alrighty. Folks, thank you as always for tuning in to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day, or sometimes 7 times a day. It feels like sometimes this week. But again, shout out to all the guests that we've had on the show this week. Michael, Gary, Ian, of course, Connor here, Mike Nicastro. Awesome day. I only had one solo show this week. So you guys are awesome for hopping on, especially during a slow news week, as we mentioned earlier. But what's not slowing down is our thoughts about the trade deadline. Now, as I mentioned to you before we started recording, a lot of people have heard my thoughts about the trade deadline. I've made myself pretty clear on what I want. Now I've kind of shifted to being more direct in saying, hey, here's these guys the Pirates could go trade for. Here's another guy the Pirates could go trade for. But what I've done all week is kind of let my guests share their thoughts on the trade deadline and what you guys think the Pirates are going to do and how they're going to handle it. So, Connor, the floor is yours. How do you think they handle the next week and a half?
I think they're definitely going to go get a bat. I also think they're probably going to be more interested in guys that have control. Now, I don't think that necessarily means, the premier guys like Luis Robert. But maybe that means, because I know this name, I thought this guy was already traded to the Pirates, Taylor Ward.
Well,
apparently.
Well, we know how that went.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
but not really. But I don't think it's I think they might toe the line between buying and selling. I don't think they're trading Perez or Gonzalez because they need as many capable competent innings as they can out of those two to extend Skeens and to extend Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But the obvious move is Aroldis Chapman, I think, at this
I could
point.
agree. Yeah, I mean, you have to offload those 1-year contracts. So you're looking at guys like Aroldis Chapman, Martin Perez, to me,
Well,
Marco
have to is a
Gonzalez.
strong word.
Well, you can at least think about it. Yeah, I think have to is a little strong. I think you at least hear teams out on guys like Perez and Gonzalez and Michael A. Taylor, if anybody wants Michael A. Taylor. But, you at least, I think, pick the phone up. Kind of like they've done in past years with Carlos Santana, for instance, and Jose Quintana. Very different vibes with those teams. But I think that's where you kind of think about it. But I also want you to discuss what we talked about too, and also your Twitter post yesterday in regards to Chapman, because I like the creativity and I like the angle that you're going with, because I think a lot of people are so stuck on Colorado, Miami, the Angels, the Marlins, and the White Sox is like the only teams that they can go trade with. You got creative with something, though, that I like. So kind of deep dive into that trade that you discussed.
So the more I think about it, the more Aroldis Chapman heading to the Orioles makes sense. And the more Cedric Mullins coming back in return makes sense. The 2021 version of Cedric Mullins is a distant memory at this point. He's not that guy. He's been really, really bad this year. He was better in June, but in July he's gone right back to being pretty bad. Somehow he's still been better than anything the Pirates have in center field. And the Orioles are looking pretty heavily into trying to get more playing time for their younger players. And Cedric Mullins at, what is he at?
31, I believe.
629 OPS he's 29, I think, about to turn 30. And Cedric Mullins at a 629 OPS isn't going to cut it for them. And he's playing his way. He's making $6.25 million this year. He's playing through, I think, his second year of arbitration, and he's playing his way into being a non-tender candidate right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to the Pirates, Aroldis Chapman really hasn't been a valuable part of their bullpen. But teams probably still like that upside. If you're getting it, even with the unreliability, the Orioles need left-handed pen help. Because their left-handed relievers right now are Keegan Akins and Cionel Perez. That's not great. The idea of a left-hander coming out of that pen and throwing 104 in the middle innings is in a fireman role just to get guys out probably would appeal to them.
Yeah.
And swapping Mullins means that they only need to add to payroll marginally, and they're not giving up prospects, and they're creating more room for their younger guys. Now, do they do it? Are they attached to Mullins too much to do that? Maybe. But you're only giving up a guy that you might end up non-tendering after the season anyway. And the Pirates get a guy who's been somehow better than anything they've had in center field this year, a capable center field defender has an OPS over 6.
Mm-hmm.
Who, I've watched a lot of Orioles games. I think, I don't think you're getting anywhere near the 2021 production,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's still a major league hitter in there. The quality of contact with Cedric Mullins has never been great, but he's made up for it by not swinging and missing a ton and hitting a lot of line drives. He's still making a ton of contact. He's just, the quality of contact is just so bad right now that that's what's led to the 629 OPS. He's also been absolutely abysmal versus left-handed pitching. He's getting under everything. He's been terrible versus left-handed pitching. If you can work him into more of a platoon role and also get that swing flattened out a little bit, I would not be shocked if there was a league average strong side platoon there, which, at this point, the Pirates need. And if he sucks, you can just non-tender him at the end of the year anyways. And he presents more immediate help to you than anything else you could probably get for Chapman.
Yeah, and I like where
So
you're thinking
that's
here
my
too.
logic with it.
Yeah, and I like where you're thinking there, Connor, because I mean it's pretty much a no risk, high reward kind
Right.
of move.
It's the exact kind of like low risk lateral move that like you kind of expect from Ben Sherrington, where they're towing the line between buying and selling.
Yeah, and I think that
It
that's
also
actually
it
a pretty
also
good way
might
to think
help.
about.
It might help both teams make more moves because the Orioles get to keep their prospects that they can add more pitching help with because they desperately need pitching help. And the Pirates shed a little bit of payroll.
Mm-hmm.
And they get a guy who's probably better than what they have. And they still have room to add another outfielder.
Yeah, because you could still get somebody in right field. And
Cedric
folks,
Mullins, let me check his splits versus splits.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
I
he's 392 OPS versus left-handed pitching, 707 versus right-handed pitching with 9 homers.
okay, it's not terrible. I mean, the left-handed is terrible. The right-handed
Yeah,
I
the
can get with.
left-handed's terrible.
The right-handed I can get with all day. Nice,
Over
man.
over what they've been dealing with?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. But and it doesn't preclude them from making more moves because the logic behind this trade is mostly for the Pirates is mostly like how reasonable is it actually to expect them to get multiple players? To expect them to use prospects to buy multiple players in this market which figures to skew extremely in favor of sellers.
Yeah.
Because nobody's really selling right now. Maybe, I could see maybe the Mets, with David Stearns, they probably know that, their chances in the playoffs aren't that great with that staff and they might sell, but I mean, what do they have to sell really other than Alonso?
Nothing.
It's it's a really big seller's market right now and I don't think it's reasonable to expect the Pirates who have typically not been very aggressive to go get two guys, in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if it ends up being, Mullins and, Ward, I think that's a good outcome for them.
Yeah, so do I.
Because
I
I
mean,
mean, obviously, you want like Luis Robert, but it's not happening. I can say pretty confidently that it's not happening.
he's one of my favorite players in baseball too, so I wish it would happen.
Yeah.
But you've added Cedric Mullins to my long list of players that I might have just write-ups on just in case it happens because that's what I've been doing. And
He
what
and
you
he's and
folks should
he's
be doing.
if it works out, you can still bring him back for his last year of ARB next year.
Yeah,
And if
if
it
you want
doesn't, you
to.
can just non-tender him.
Fair enough. I like where you're going with it, man. I do. I like it a lot. And I think that's actually a great spot, too, to go ahead and wrap up today here on Friday, July 19th, 2024, where baseball, thank God, is back so that I can
Yeah.
actually start discussing some things happening on the field once again. Connor, where can people find all of your work, boss man?
So currently I write for Bucks Dugout. So you can check that out at bucksdugout.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter right below there
Yep.
at wins_Williams. Um, Follow me or don't. I'm not your dad.
That's nice. I honestly should probably start saying that too. I'm always like, follow me, please. By the way, folks, we are very close to 2,000 subscribers. So yeah, follow me. I would love to hit that milestone. Might even do a little giveaway once we hit that point. Find Locked On Pirates on Twitter at Locked On Pirates. Find me at MVP_Ethan. Find this show on YouTube, Spotify, and all of your audio platforms because it is free and available to you because it's awesome. You should always tune in. So grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Connor, for coming on today. Folks, enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the weekend if you're going. We'll see you on the flip side.